So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
So how are you today, class? Are you excited?
Yes, sir.
So that's good. So it's nice to hear that. So before we start our lesson for today, let us pray. Anyone wants to lead? Ma'am Gabaon, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Tayo po ay pumikit. Panginoong Diyos, pinupuri ka po namin, pinapasalamatan sa araw na ito. Maraming salamat po at muli po kami nagtipon-tipon upang makinig ng bagong lesson. Panginoong Diyos, kayo na pong bahala sa maghapon po namin. Ito pong aming samot dalangin sa matamis na pangalan ni Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Gabaon. So once again, Biped3E, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yan. So dapat maging buhay tayo, alive na alive dapat. Okay, so allowing me to introduce myself first. So my name is Sir MELCHOR Emeterio, your physical education teacher, and now I'm going to teach the health education. Okay, so let's check your attendance first. May I know who is the president here in this section? Ma'am Sigos, who is absent today?
There's no absent for today, sir.
Very good, class. You got a perfect attendance today. So please give 10 claps. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you so much. Okay, class. So I have here a simple reminder during our virtual discussion. Okay? So the first one, dress appropriately. I'm allowing you to wear departmental shirt, school uniform, or physical education uniform, but I'm not allowing you to wear shorts or boxers or sando. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so the next simple reminder we have, always turn off your microphone. Why? To avoid unnecessary things. So if you don't have any questions or clarifications, please turn off your microphone. So if you have a questions or clarifications regarding to our lessons or discussion, get my permission to speak and state your opinions or clarification. Okay, so the third one, be on time. So our schedule for the subject MPE 18, which is process of teaching, is from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. So meaning to say, before 7 a.m., you need to join on our link for our virtual meeting. Next, always turn on your camera. Fifth, be respectful. Okay, so as simple as that. If you want to respect by other people, especially by your teachers and co-students, learn how to respect first. And the last one, listen actively and attentively. There are times that I'm going to ask anyone regarding to our lesson. So be careful and listen attentively. So those are the simple reminders that we need to do during our class discussion. Do you understand, class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so let's take a review time. So yesterday, we talked about the next. Yan, sa preventions of management and environmental health issues. So class, may I now give the 3 ways to prevent and manage the environmental issues? Anyone? Anyone who wants to answer?
Sir, permission to speak.
Okay, go ahead, Ma'am Sigos.
Sir, first is personal responsibility. Second one, social consciousness. And the third one, environmental policies and law.
Okay, very good, Ma'am Sigos. So those are the lessons that we talked about yesterday. It's all about prevention and management of environmental health issues. And there are 3 ways to prevent and manage the environmental issues. So the first one, we have personal responsibility. Next one, we have social consciousness. And the last one, environmental policies and laws. Okay, so now let's proceed to our new activity. So the activity that we call on crossword puzzle. So do you familiar in this game class or activity?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you are familiar in this activity, let's start. Okay, so based on the word puzzles, if you have a answers or idea regarding on that particular activity, get my permission to speak and state your answer. Okay? Like for example, permission to speak Emeterio, then state your answer. Okay, let's start.
Permission to speak, sir.
Okay, Miss Cabaon, go ahead.
Science po.
Okay, let's see later if your answer is correct. How about the others? Do you have any idea? Or do you
Yes,
have
sir.
any words that you can see in this word puzzle? Miss
Sir.
Pensigos, go ahead.
Sir, abuse po.
Abuse. Okay, let's see later if your answer is correct. How about the others? Do you have any idea? Do you have any answers regarding on this word puzzle?
Sir, permission to speak again?
Go ahead, Ma'am Cabao. Ma'am Mensigos rather, sorry.
Mites po.
Okay, mites or meets. Okay, so later.
Sir, permission to speak po.
Go ahead, Ma'am Cabaon.
Symptom po.
Okay, so symptoms. Okay, so let's see if your answers are correct. Okay, so the words that can be found in the word puzzle, we have the meets, signs, abuse, and symptoms. Okay, so class, based on our activity, what is our lesson today?
Sir, permission to speak po.
Go ahead, Ma'am Mensigos.
Sir, I think our topic for today is about the misconceptions, signs, and symptoms of drug abuse.
Okay. Okay, so let's see if our lesson is all about myths and misconceptions of the symptoms. Okay, so before that, I'm going to discuss the learning objectives of our lessons. So at the end of the lessons, the students are able to analyze the myths, misconceptions about substance use and abuse. Next, appreciate the myths, misconceptions, signs, and symptoms of substance use and abuse. The last one, explain the truth of drugs used and abuse, the signs and symptoms of drugs use and abuse. Next slide. Okay, so our topic for today is all about myths, misconceptions, signs, and symptoms of drug abuse. Okay, so people give several reasons for taking drugs. Some believe that these drugs can make them feel and look good. So class, do you agree that drugs can make them feel and look good? Yes. Do you agree that drugs can make them feel and look? Minsigos? No. Yes, very good. Because certain drugs of abuse produce pleasure or euphoria. So euphoria is a high sensation of feeling good and extremely relaxed, with euphoria is a sensation brought about by the chemical reactions of the neurotransmitters in the brains. Thus, drugs affect your brain process. So continuous and prolonged drugs use has a very bad effect in a person. It can alter his behavior and his mental and physical and psychological conditions. So the effects of drugs can prolong the whole body parts of our body, or the whole aspects of our physical. Okay, so most importantly, drug dependence results in a drugs abuse or drug tolerance problems with society and law, withdrawal symptoms, severe health problems, poor of quality of life, and eventually death. So you must understand that it is not easy to know and feel the effects of drugs on the body. Effects are not always the same with the drugs users. A small amount of a substance may create a feelings of pleasure to persons, but the same amount may cause restlessness, stress, or even immediate death to another person. So is it important to remember that each individual's brain capacity and function and total body chemistry are different from other persons. Thus, we have different reactions to drugs and substances. Okay, so now let's move on to the facts about drugs of abuse. So the first one we have, drugs of abuse do not improve memory. Do you agree, class?
Yes,
Class,
sir.
do you agree that drug of abuse do not improve memory? No. Because drug of abuse shut down proper brain functioning. Certain drugs stimulate the brain but do not really help improve memory. Most drug users claim they think before better and clearly after taking drugs, but tests on performance and cognitions have proven that they have performed worse. That's the reasons why drugs of abuse do not improve memory. Okay, so the next facts about drugs we have, drugs of abuse do not help in the digestion of food. Okay, so class, based on your idea, do you agree that the abuse of do not help in the digestion of food? Do you have any idea? Okay, so if none, I'm going to discuss. Okay, so certain drugs of abuse stimulate the productions of stomach acids. Constant exposure to the higher than normal acid level damages stomach or linings, which can result to ulcers. So drugs of abuse do not help in the digestion of the food. Okay, third. So anyone who wants to read?
Sir, permission to speak.
Go, Ma'am Mensigos. Go ahead.
Sir, yung number 3 po ba?
Yes po.
Drugs of abuse place a user in a dangerous and life-threatening situation.
Okay. So drugs of abuse place a user in dangerous and life-threatening situation. So like what I said earlier, that drugs is very dangerous, especially in our health. Next, we have drugs of abuse worsens life problems and worries. Okay, so if you are users or if you have a symptoms regarding on the drugs abuse, it can affect your performance, especially it can affect your environment. Why? Because there are times that you can attack the hallucinations or the hallucinogens that may cause that the problems with society and law, right? So you must understand that it's not easy to know and feel the effects of drugs on the body. So effects are not always the same with drugs users. Next, we have drugs of abuse do not heat up the body. Instead, then they make the body lose heat faster than normal. So, profile of a drug abuser. Okay, so anyone who wants to read the profile of a drug abuser?
Sir, permission to speak.
Mr. Bolante, may I write? Okay, go ahead.
The dangerous drugs board listed the following signs and symptoms of drug abuse. It is important to note that having a few of these signs does not immediately make a person a drug user. Therefore, observation of physical, mental, emotional, and social behaviors must be carefully done to confirm if a person is a drug user.
And so thank you, Mr. Bolante. Okay, so profile of a drug user. So the dangerous drug boards listed the following signs and symptoms of drug abuse. So later on, I will discuss. So is it important to note that having a few of these signs doesn't immediately make a person a drug user? So therefore, observations of physical, mental, and emotional and social behaviors must be carefully done to confirm if a person is a drug user. Okay, so below are some of the signs and symptoms of drug use. Next slide, please. Okay, so declining interest in the studies and work. Okay, so there are times that if a person is users of a drugs, nawawalan na siya ng pag-asa o interest sa pag-aaral. Right? So especially ang mga some of the cases na to is mga students or kabataan. Next, we have identifications with known drugs users or pagkilala sa mga kilalang gumagamit ng droga. Next, negative outlook in life. Okay, so there are times that the students para siyang nawawala sa sarili. Ganun. Overthinking. Sabi nga, there are times na yung bata or estudyante, pag hindi niya alam yung ginagawa niya, nag-overthink, right? But, hindi ibig sabihin na ang bata pag nakakaramdam ng ganung symptoms or mananaw sa buhay, masasabi mo siyang drug users. There are times na hindi niya lang nakokontrol yung kanyang sarili. That's why, nangyayari sa buhay niya yung ganun, nag-overthink siya. Okay, uncontrolled irritations. O hindi makontrol ng pangangati. Ayun. So, di ba, usually dito sa symptoms na to is gusto natin, lalo na pag naka-high, ayun, sorry for the word high, kasi ito usually yung ginagamit ng mga teachers, even mga professionals when it comes pag ang isang tao ay users ng drugs. Right. So next, paranoia or fear the people that always talk about him or her. Right. So ito, kadalasan nangyayari ito sa mga social media, right? So insecurity is one of the best thing or one of the best examples of this paranoia or fear that people always talk about him or her. Curiosity, insecurity. Next, severe feeling of depressions and loneliness. Okay, so dito naman, once na nakaranas ng isang bata ng depressions or loneliness o kalungkutan, sabihin natin sa word na kalungkot sa Tagalog, kalungkutan, right? That will be the best words that can describe a loneliness, which is kalungkutan. So, hindi natin masasabi na kapag ang bata or ang mag-aaral o even kung sino man ang apektado na to or drug users na to is masasabi na natin na isa siyang drug users. There are times na minsan hindi na lang niya na-manage totally yung kanyang sarili. Yun. So nagkakasabay-sabay, stress, depressions, that's why ito ang nagiging results. Loneliness. Feeling of depressions. Weak. Right? Next, we have complaints of overfatigue or psychological or physiological. So it concludes that the mental aspects of a person's. Next, frequent involvement in the petty fights and crimes. Okay, so yung madalas na pakikisangkot sa maliliit na away at krimen. Yan, isa yan sa mga symptoms na ang isang tao ay users ng drugs. Next, frequent changes of mood and extreme mood swings. Yan, so hindi natin ma-identify or it cannot be identify the moods of a person regarding on the situations. Like the word OA or overacting. Knowing that if a person is, hindi naman kailangan matawa pero bakit ganun yung nagiging emotion, but ganun ang nagiging mood niya. Right? Kahit sino, like for example, in difficult times na talagang napakalungkot kasi nga may problema kayong pinagdadaanan pero ikaw tumatawa ka. Do you feel that? So naramdaman niyo ba yon? If you feel that, I think you are users of drugs. Okay, so it's a joke. Okay, so yan. Next we have loosely physical appearances. Yan, so kadalasan sa mga users ng drug talaga, is parang nagluluso yung kanilang mga physical appearances, parang nagiging baduy, then at the same time nawawala sila sa sarili nila. Kung ano nila yung maisuot, yun na lang. That's why nagre-reflect yun sa personal appearance nila. Next, reddish eyes. Okay, so reddish eyes. Namumula-mulang mata, ayan. So sabi ng bilasa. Bilasa, naniniwala ako sa bilasa. Yan, so if you know your if you are users of drugs, one of the symptoms of this is the reddish eyes. But if you are not users of drugs, please, and you have a symptoms regarding on the signs and symptoms of drugs and use, please consult to the doctors regarding to your conditions. Okay? Next we have, next slide please. Sudden loss in weight. Biglang pagbaba ng timbang. Okay. Next, frequent complaints of headaches and stomach pains. Next, convulsions, frequent attacks of cough and runny nose, brown stains on fingertips, full body smell, wearing of sunglasses even at night, loss of balance, loss of interest in sports and hobbies, and poor judgments and loss of inhibitions, and last one, loss of concentrations. So those are the symptoms of or signs if the person is abused or users of a drugs. Next po. Okay, so for your first activity class, differentiate the good and bad perspectives about sign and symptoms. Okay, so your activity will be graded based on our rubrics. So there will be a criteria. So the first one, we have the idea explanation. So truly explain 3 points, 2 points for ideas explained, and 1 point for ideas somewhat explained. Next, we have quality of writing, since your activity will be written. Very informative and well-organized, 3 points. 2 points if somewhat informative and organized. And 1 point, give some new information but fully organized. Third, timeliness. 1 thread and 2 responses posted within the time frame, 3 points. 2 points if 1 thread and 1 response on time, 1 response late. And 1 point if thread or 2 response late. Last one, we have grammar usage. Few errors, 3 points. 2 points for some errors and 1 point for many errors. So for the transmutations of grades 2, score to grade. Okay, so if you got 12 points or your perfect score will be 99. So your grades will be 99 rather. So if 11, 97, 10 for 95, 9 for 93, 8 for 90, and 7 for 87, and 6 for 85, and 5 for 82. So the highest possible score will be 12 or 99, the total grades. So I'll give you 20 minutes to answer your first activity. Next. Okay, so class. So now give some facts of myths and misconceptions.
Sir,
Okay,
permission
so
to
the students will give the correct answers. We will have a 50 pesos loads. Okay, so now give some facts of myths and misconceptions. Anyone who wants to answer and get my permission to speak and state your answer. Okay? Okay, so let's start. Anyone who wants to answer?
Permission to speak, sir.
Miss Gabaon, go ahead.
Some facts of myths and misconception of drugs. Drug abuse, it help in the digestion of foods. Drug of abuse make a person blood and brave. Drug of abuse remove life problem and worries.
Okay, so very good, Miss Gabaon. So later on, please remind me regarding to your rewards. Next. Okay, so for the activity 2, Name and section. And the first question, enumeration. List down at least 5 signs and symptoms of drugs use. So for 10 points. Next item, we have essay. In 5 sentences, what are the importance of facts and about drugs and abuse for 20 points? That will be a written output in one piece of paper. Okay, so your submissions will be tomorrow. I'll give you 1 day to do your activity. Next. Assignment. So for the instructions of your assignment, make a slogan about myths, misconceptions, signs, and symptoms of substance use and abuse. So your activity intended for 1 week. I think 1 week preparation is important or enough for you to do your assignment. Okay?
Okay po, sir.
So do you have any questions or clarifications regarding to our lessons or activity class?
No, sir.
None, sir.
Okay, so if you don't have any questions or clarifications rather, please turn on your camera and let's take a screenshots for our documentation. Okay, so in a count of 3, smile. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, smile. Again, 1, 2, 3, smile. And so thank you for listening. I hope you learned a lot from our discussion for today. So that's all for today. Goodbye, class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.